Hey, Bublynn, coming in, crushing this part. All right, we're back at it. Now I wanted to talk a little bit about beach, a little bit about BublynnBeach. Yeah, beach, the symbol, right? So when I think about the beach and the reason that I associate with the beach, obviously, what like the first thing that comes to your mind probably is like, oh, the tropics, right? You just want a place of rest and relaxation, right? Be like, no, sorry, that's not why. But it does come after the chaos, right? So now think about this, because in order to get a pleasant beach, you'd probably want a soft sandy beach, right? So that means you had all of these are like rock like forms in waves, right? Because we see this in like certain explosions, certain currents, right? Like heat and liquidity coming up, resurfacing, right? And this is like and cooling off, right, as it gets higher. So that's just the waves of rock, right? So what rock forms in waves? We don't get little tiny little crystal sand granules, right? So this means that a pleasant beach even comes from a lot a lot of pressure, right? And pressure from what? From water, from weather, from basically just the currents in Earth, right? The currents mainly push through the the lighter, right? Water and air, like generally things getting blown around and waves crashing, right? And that takes so long, right? So when you get a soft beach, that means this thing hasn't been, it didn't get here yesterday. This is a symbol of refinement, right? Necessarily, in my opinion, unless you are thinking about a really rough, rocky beach, right? But generally, I feel like when someone does say beach, unless they have a lot of personal experience connected to really rocky, unpleasant beaches where there's no really good access, right? Then you're gonna feel that, right? And so that bliss or that like pleasure is all coming from this place of refinement as well, right? You can feel in there. So now if we dig a little bit deeper, like the what I see, right, when I think about beach even more so, right? Already we have this symbol of refinement. I already like it almost like bread, like let us have our daily bread. Almost like that. But either way, when I think about the beach, I also deeply connected to water, right? It's connected to water. And what does water always show us? At least when we look like towards the ocean, we see waves, we see pattern, we see time, we see cycles, right? And so that's something that I personally think about as I think about like cycles, waves, time, like almost reminds me of the moon, waxing and waning, right? Cycles, right? And I also think about patterns or different um, life experiences or opportunity almost like um, it's almost like no matter what you have, right, your shoes that you're filling, right? And this is because how you relate with the world or how whatever you are in there, right, that like built your body up, you know what I mean, is expressing itself, right? So we have to work through our being, our soul, our genetics in order to express ourselves, right? So all those things, first of all, us working through our body, right? That's like a yin, something that we have to learn from and learn how to optimally work with, right? One person's great experience is not another person's, right? Because of how we're built differently. So so first of all, that's like one kind of water is your internal water, and then you have your relational water, which is just how you go about relating with people, right? And that's like a whole nother wave that, uh, you know what I mean? That you're gonna get swept under because usually we want relationships, right? Just like we want our body to feel good, we're gonna get swept under and basically do anything for it to the point where we're lost kind of serving that. But once we understand and we get swept under that enough and we do understand how that's served, we can keep that tamed while just keeping it under maybe like a dream we have, or you know what I mean? Now we're not just doing it for our body, because that's kind of just self-sustaining, right? Like that's why it's well, like water's clear. It doesn't have, true water doesn't have that. It's pure, right? So so there's nothing to it. It's just something that you got to learn how to utilize, and that's like a tool. But what do you do with the tool, right? There's no expression there, right? But that's kind of how I look at the water is 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 that just that purity and that thing that we utilize or use in order to do, like in order to enact dreams, right? But how well of a craftsman we are depends on how well we learn the tools, right? How well we just got to know the system, you know, how well we math, how well we understand the raw geometry of the tools, you know, stuff like that. So anyway, and then there's a whole nother water which is like almost like time and societal, right? So because you can make a bunch of people happy short term with like a scam, you know what I mean, or something like that. And then long term, you may have just worked well on a person to person level, right? And then just moved on to new people. You know, you may have worked great on that level. Your body may be loving it. You know, you may have got the biggest high of your life, but now there's the water of time, like karma, like how is this interacting with the community, right? Because we're always swimming in something, right? Look around you, you know, it's like you're not the center of, that's why people say that, because we're always expressing out, you know, through the universe, right? We're always working through the universe, there's so much universe, right? So now, like, how you work with that is going to develop like a karma, right? So if you're constantly scamming people, moving place to place to place to place to place, right, that energy of taking is going to come back on you in time, and people are going to take from you, you know. So that's where you could get slipped under that current too, uh just by, like, you know, you just wanting to have security and you thinking this is the first way to jump to it, and not necessarily like achieving an individual dream, right? Unless your dream is scamming and you're like a delusional person, right? So like, and you know, you do you. But yeah, so those are kind of like the waters, right? And so the way that I look at it when I think about the beach is all those things crashing on like the rock, the structure, right? What we do, right? So what we do, the rock, the beach, like the body, like, right? You could think of like the beach is like the your tributes, right? Like it's like all of your creations and art ground to dust, right? And now that's kind of like the beach, right? And it's fluid. It's almost like, I think it was like Jackie Chan was like, "Be like water, my friend," right? And it's almost like that is the earth that's so small. It's fluid. It's sand, right? Like um, it's not necessarily like fluid as water, right? But long term, like you can't stack sand. You know what I mean? It's 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 now it's gonna go with the flow, right? And so that's a lot of what I connect with. And so when I think about it, what I think about is utilizing that sand to build structures, to build castle, to build my abode, to build my world, right? Because if I'm utilizing sand, I'm already working with the currents. I'm already working with the water. This is something that's going to flow through the water, right? And so if I'm utilizing that, I know I'll be able to flow through the water. Um, yeah, that's like it's gonna last, you know what I mean? But then that's basically the whole point too, is where I'm always utilizing the sand in order to develop these great structures, right? And so they, like, they're gonna last, they're gonna be fluid because it's just gonna but it, because it's just gonna break apart. And so this is where it's not the thing that I'm building um is not the thing. It's the lessons I learned, right? And this is why I connect so much to the currents and the time and the waves and the patterns, right? Because if you do something once, you're not going to get anything out of it, right? In order to really get something out of, or get nourishment out of any part of life, you have to spend a lot of time there. You have to concentrate a lot of energy there, right? So um so yeah, so basically, like, it's me building, like utilizing the sand to build, learning lessons, right? When I'm expressing my dream, by being beaten down by the waves, right? If you build a sandcastle on the beach, it's not gonna last forever, right? The tide's gonna come back up, but it's like utilizing that and utilizing the lessons learned to build a better sandcastle tomorrow, right? So it's not it's not that I'm sad that the sandcastle's leaving. It's not that I'm sad that I'll never see my art again. It's that I'm glad I got the opportunity to make it. You know, I'm glad that the sea got the opportunity to break it down, you know? And that's really hard, right? And life's really hard, right? Waking up and living and like connecting with it so deeply, knowing that this is just a wave. It's just an expression, right? We like go, 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 and then stretch, and then eventually we start receding, right? Eventually we come back. Eventually, like we atrophy, you know. So, but you have like acceptance, right? Like this is the way, you know. So in order to utilize that, we think, okay, if we if we if we um if we do put a lot into an art piece, right, and we learned a lot, we invested a lot, we concentrated a lot, we got all those tools. Now we'll be able to set it up for tomorrow. And this is where you have to understand, like, rest and work, right? Don't stress yourself out, stay passionate. But this is where you got to let things go, or else you'll be washed under the wave when time comes and washes that away, and you won't be able to surf the next wave that comes. So because there's always going to be a new wave. That's why you almost got to be one step ahead on thinking that, okay, this is washed away before it even is. It's kind of the way that I look at, like, building, and the way that I look at life, and the way that I look at expression, right? And all these things, and like doing anything solid, or giving anything, or building anything. So, so yeah, that's a little bit about that. And so yeah, so basically the whole thing is, the only thing that's solid is the lesson, right? So every time I learn a little bit more about foundation, every time I learn a little bit more about what needs to be done. Like, for example, like, there's a lot on the beach you could utilize. Like, I always think about, and what I find interesting is that with shells, if you break them up and you burn them, like calcify them in a hot enough furnace, right? Then, and it's not even that hot, you can milk a furnace like that. Then you can get pure lime, which can you mix with rock and stuff to make a solid mortar, right? So what this means is that if you spend enough time utilizing and learning, right, and really just investing in doing it for the fun, right, finding new ways, expanding upon that, then eventually on the beach, you wouldn't think a castle would last forever, but it could. Right on the beach, getting slammed by the waves in the current. You know what I mean? And so, like, that's the whole point, is that you're always building, and you're always building a new thing, and like jumping into a new personality, or like not like, or just, a new part of life, right? You're always putting your all into whatever you're doing. But you do realize that this is a once a lifetime, right? Like, it's a one, it's like the thing, but things have a time limit, right? And so that's why we don't connect to the thing, we connect to the lessons learned, right? We connect to the beach, and that's how I see it, right? Is once you, like, that's what you're building, is those lessons, so that in any particular situation you can make whatever you need, right? So, and that's the whole point, because if I didn't build it on the beach, right, and I just built it on the land up a ways, right, and then just use the basic tools, I never would have learned as many lessons, right? I never would have had a castle that strong. I never, and this is being subject to nature, right? And so this is always being receptive, always letting nature in, never really being delusional, because I want to utilize this lifetime to expand. I don't want to go backwards, and utilizing it in a way to surf, right? And so that's why I get that expression too. We're surfing, right? When we are utilizing nature, and working with that in a way that's also working with us. So, like, for example, you have a job that boosts your ego and boosts your self-esteem, and like helps you get to where you're going, right? Not sucking you in, but helps you, giving you substance and put stuff for you so you can accomplish your dreams, while you're also giving it, right? Now you get the situation of, you're utilizing a space, and it's not just using you. You're not just going right out, down and out, like, fuck, like, gotta get out of here. You're utilizing it in order to expand, right? And that's where you're surfing. That's where you're utilizing the water, you're utilizing the system in order to express yourself. And that's where we should be. That's individuality. That's finding yourself, and being able to really express yourself, instead of get trapped in other systems where you're just for the system, you're just down and out, you can't express yourself through your job. And then there's the way where it's like, um you don't even work at all, right? You're so to yourself that you never try to express that through a system, and now you never gave any influence or substance, right? And that's not right either. So that's basically, like, that's the beach, and that's important, right? Right, yeah. So yeah, I just wanted to talk a little bit about the beach. What is the beach symbolically? Why is the beach awesome? And I am Bublynn Sitra Beach, because personally, citrus, hype, like, tang, right? Like, if you really get to know me, there's a flavor, there's a passion, there's a reason, there's a, like, you can feel that tang. And then Bublynn, because, like, as a Libra ascendant, not even just like that, as just, like, I look up to the world, like, I look up to people, I'm like aspirational, I see big things, I love. So as this, I don't try to express myself in a way that conflicts, you know? And this is why I so easily fit in with the beach. Because I'm always trying to work through nature, right? And that can really lead me into bad situations in a way where maybe I don't necessarily want to be confrontational, but I will be when I have to. But it's like I don't want to be, right? Um, but at the same time, I like Bublynn is Bub, Lil, Lynn, beautiful, right? I'm making beauty out of working under, right? Being the right hand man, right? I'm doing that while I'm building my whole world, you know what I mean? And so that's like that's beautiful, you know. That's Bublynn Sitra Beach, and that's who I am. So that's a little bit about who I am. Hey, thanks for watching. Look, I appreciate you guys. All love, be lucky, be beachin', stay lit, Bublynn Sitra Beach out.